Imagine, it's 1780. It's late October in a New England farmhouse, and the whole house smells like boiling fat. Your mother has been at the kettle since before dawn. She dips a wooden rod strung with cotton wicks into the melted tallow, lifts it, lets it cool, and dips it again. 40 times for one rod. Then she starts the next. By nightfall, she will have made 400 candles, the family's entire supply of light for a year. Every one of them will smoke. Every one will smell faintly of the animal it came from. And across the road, in the parlor of the rich house, a single candle burns clean and white and odorless. It cost more than your mother earns in a week. This is American Workshop. This is the story of the American candle, and why nobody makes it like this anymore. In colonial America, light was not something you switched on. It was something you made, or bought, or did without. There were no factories turning out candles. Every candle in every home came from one of three places: the household kettle, a local chandler's shop, or whatever fat was left over after the autumn slaughter. Light was rationed. The wealthy burned beeswax clean and bright and nearly odorless, and far too expensive for ordinary families. Everyone else burned tallow, rendered from cattle and sheep, and on the frontier from deer, suet, and bear grease. The smell of a family's candles told you exactly how much money they had. A typical household burned through 300 to 400 candles a year, and making them was women's work. It was a full day bent over a kettle of boiling fat, dipping rod after rod, the whole street knowing what you were doing by the smell alone. Then came the whale. In the early 1700s, New England whalers began bringing in sperm whales, and inside the head of a sperm whale was something extraordinary, a waxy substance called spermaceti. When a chandler learned to crystallize it, he could make a candle unlike anything Americans had ever burned. It gave off almost no smoke. It barely smelled. Its flame was steady and white, nearly 4 times brighter than tallow. A 1748 advertisement in the Boston Newsletter promised candles exceeding all others for beauty, with a soft, easy, expanding light. This was the luxury technology of its day, and a handful of men raced to control it. In 1749, an Englishman named Benjamin Crabbe petitioned the Massachusetts court for the sole right to make spermaceti candles. He won the privilege and then never followed through. Around 1751 in Newport, Rhode Island, a Sephardic Jewish merchant named Jacob Rodriguez Rivera began buying whale head matter and making the candles in earnest. 2 years later, a Quaker named Obadiah Brown, whose family would one day found Brown University, opened the first true spermaceti candle works in Providence. The work was exact, and it was punishing. Head matter was heated in copper vats to melt away the impurities, then stored in casks where the winter cold congealed it into granules. Those granules were wrapped in wool, packed into a press, and squeezed again and again to force out the last of the oil. The hardest, purest grade was pressed in the dead of winter, in the cold, because only the cold kept the wax firm enough to work. It was slow, freezing, exacting labor. What remained when it was done was a pure, hard wax. Done wrong, the candle guttered and smoked like cheap tallow. Done right, it sold for a small fortune. And here is where the story turns. These were not quiet craftsmen. On the 5th of November, 1761, the 8 largest spermaceti manufacturers in the colonies signed an agreement and formed the United Company of Spermaceti Chandlers. Today, we would call it a cartel. They fixed the highest price they would pay for raw spermaceti, 6 pounds sterling a pound, and the lowest price they would sell their finished candles for. They agreed to use, in their own words, all fair and honorable means to stop anyone new from opening a candleworks. And if the price of whale matter ever climbed too high, they pledged to send out 12 ships of their own to go and get it. Historians have called it one of the first industrial monopolies in America, the world's first energy cartel. It was running 15 years before the Declaration of Independence. Meanwhile, far from the candleworks, colonial women had quietly invented something of their own. Along the Atlantic coast grew wild bayberry, and someone discovered that boiling its waxy berries produced a hard, green, sweet-smelling wax. The National Candle Association calls it America's first real contribution to candlemaking. It made a beautiful candle. It was also so much work, pounds of berries for a single taper, that it never spread far. The men got the cartel, the women got the bayberry. And then everything changed. The thing that killed the chandler was not one invention. It was three, arriving almost in a row. In the 1820s, a French chemist named Michel-Eugène Chevreul learned how to pull stearic acid out of ordinary animal fat, a hard, clean wax that needed no whale at all. In 1834, an Englishman named Joseph Morgan patented a machine with a piston that pushed finished candles out of their molds as they cooled. It made 1,500 candles an hour. No hand dipper, no chandler alive, could come close. Then in 1850, a Scottish chemist named James Young patented a way to distill paraffin from coal. Paraffin burned clean, cost almost nothing, and by 1859 was being poured into candles by the ton. The hand chandler's trade and the autumn ritual of the household dipping became pointless within a single generation. Why spend a whole day over a kettle of boiling fat when a factory candle cost a few pennies? The skills that had passed from mother to daughter, from master to apprentice, simply stopped being passed on. Many of the men who had once rendered fat and pressed wax by hand ended up working in factories, tending the very machines that had made their craft worthless. And then in 1879, Edison's light bulb made the whole question moot for everyone. Today, you can still watch it done by hand. At Colonial Williamsburg in Virginia, and at Old Sturbridge Village in Massachusetts, costumed chandlers dip candles the old way, mostly so that we don't forget. But the candle left something far larger behind. When Britain needed to measure light to regulate its gas companies, it reached for the most consistent flame anyone knew. The Metropolitan Gas Act of 1860 defined a unit of light as exactly one pure spermaceti candle, weighing 1/6 of a pound, burning at a fixed rate. They called that unit candle power. And candle power is the direct ancestor of the candela. The unit your phone screen and every light bulb you own is still measured by today. Every time you read a brightness rating, you are measuring the world against a whale-fat candle made by hand in New England. The candle outlived the oil lamp. It outlived the gas jet. It outlived the very light bulb that was supposed to replace it. Not because we need it anymore, but because the next time the power goes out and you reach for one in the dark, you are doing the exact thing your great-great-grandmother did, making your own small stand against the night.